Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, you like, share, comment, let me know your thoughts as well. And of course, we've still got our Spotify account up and available, so you can go back and listen to all our episodes from last season, which includes the Champions League, the Club World Cup, the finals that we was in as well. So there's a lot of content on there. All you've got to do is search From the Shed End on Spotify and you should be able to find us. There's about 60 plus episodes, so whilst there's no football, there's something for you to get stuck into and give those a listen as well. But let's get into some of the content for today. Of course, we're talking a lot about the transfer activity, some of the things that are going on around the club, some of the rumours that are sort of circling around the club at the moment. And let's start off, no better place to start off than obviously Ousmane Dembele, who is the hot topic at the moment, seems to be the only one that is being spoken about in great detail in terms of transfers to Chelsea. There's been apparently a 4-year contract has been offered to Ousmane Dembele with a nice generous sign-on fee as part of the new regime under Todd Bowley, the new regime that's in place now. So, you know, we spoke about Dembele, myself and Theo, on a couple of the podcasts, I think in January during the winter window. And we were both at the time, you know, especially I can speak for myself, you know, I was very reluctant to see Dembele come into the club, previous injury records. A lot of factors, but mainly injuries is the key one. But as the transfer sort of comes out and I'm hearing more about the transfer, I'm thinking back to when he was with Dortmund and how well he played, even with the likes of, you know, Christian Pulisic, underneath Thomas Tuchel. I'm starting to warm to the idea of Dembele coming to the club. I think he is one of those key players, and I said it a lot of the times last season, we don't have players that can unlock defenses, who can create chances, and we miss so many of those players. You know, we look back to Eden Hazard, you look back to Cesc Fabregas, Juan Mata. You know, these players were able to just unlock a defense, and we struggled to do that so many times last season. And for me, you know, Ousmane Dembele, I'm not saying he's the Eden Hazard level at all, but he's definitely got qualities that I like about him. You know, he hasn't had the best of times in Barcelona. I think Barcelona have offered him a contract. He hasn't signed it. He hasn't, wanted to. It looks like he doesn't want to stay at Barcelona. So he's going to move somewhere. There's talk about PSG potentially might be involved. I think they were, you know, ideally he'd love to go to PSG, but there's some sort of discrepancies there around do they sign him or don't they? But look, we're the front runners to sign him. I think if we do sign him, we have to get on board, just like we have with, you know, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, all these players that we've brought in. You know, we have to get on board with Ousmane Dembele if he does sign for the club. And I think, you know, if he can come in and hit some of that form that he was hitting when he was at Dortmund, stay injury free, I think we will have a really good player on our hands. So I am sort of warming to the idea of Dembele coming to the club. I still have a lot of reservation in terms of his actual ability to perform week in, week out in the Premier League, but he can't. Look, we've still got certain players which I'm going to get onto shortly on the books that we need to get rid of, and one of the things we have to be very careful of is we don't miss out on certain transfers as well. I think, you know, the fact that we missed out on Pulisic, who's now at Tottenham, you know, would have been a perfect signing for us as well. But for me, Dembele, 4-year deal. I'd maybe done a 3-year, but maybe that's what's stalling at Barcelona, the fact that he's only been offered a short-term contract. If we can get him over the line, yeah, I'll be happy with that 4-year deal. Apparently there's an announcement the next couple of weeks or so. We'll see. His contract ends in June, so obviously something needs to happen in the next, you know, by then. So we need to know what's going to happen. But I think if we can get Dembele over the line, 1000%, he has to perform. He has to put in a good shift. He has to be able to hit the ground running. He has to be able to adapt as well. There's a lot of factors in terms of outside of football life. He has to adapt and understand that he can't be turning up to training late. He can't be, you know, doing all the things that he's been doing in Barcelona. He has to be on the ball pretty much all the time to be able to sustain a place in that squad under Thomas Tuchel. But I want to talk about, obviously I just mentioned Pulisic, who for me was a big loss, because I think if we could have signed him, you know, there was obviously a lot of talk. I don't think the sanctions that we had at the time helped those negotiations, but I think if we could have signed Pulisic, I think that would have been a brilliant replacement for you know, if Alonso does go. And I think it's kind of good because we've heard from Emerson. I think he spoke after the Italy-Argentina game and said that he's obviously happy to be back at Stamford Bridge. There's a lot of talk obviously in January that we tried to recall him, which he's admitted that there was obviously those conversations going on. Respectfully, he stayed in France to play for the club that he was representing at the time, and he's come back. He looks good. I watched him against Argentina. He looked really good. So I think for me, he's not a bad replacement. Is he good enough to sit on the bench a lot? I think he's got some really good qualities, and I think it'd be a shame to sort of again have someone like him on the bench all the time. Like I said with Kepa, I think he's a really good player. He shows some really good performances the season before. I think he only played probably a handful of minutes in I think it was against Crystal Palace before he went on loan. So yeah, it's going to be, that's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, Azpilicueta, again, another player that I'd love to keep at the club. I think if we can keep Azpilicueta, maybe Emerson, we have the likes of Ian Maatsen, who, again, we'll get onto when I talk about the loan players later. But if we can keep Ian Maatsen, maybe Emerson, we've got plenty of cover. I think we can't expect too much from Ben Chilwell. He obviously needs to have a really good summer period now. He needs to be, getting that rehabilitation in, try and get ready for pre-season. And we see how we go, but there's every chance that he might have a reoccurrence of the same injury or a very similar injury, and we just need to be prepared a lot better than we were last season. I think there was times when we were playing Saul Niguez at left back or left wing back, and he's played there for Atletico, which is fine, but I think naturally you want your players that can actually play in those roles. The familiarity around playing in that position, you want them playing there all the time. And I think if we've got enough cover, we can't be caught out like we were last season. Even on the right back situation, one of the reasons why I think Azpilicueta come the end of the season was knackered because of the amount of games he was playing because of Reece James's injury. So I think we've got to try and keep Azpilicueta for one more season. I think if we can get that nailed down, there's the talk of him moving away is kind of died off. It's still there for Alonso, which I think will happen. I think we'll lose Alonso. Obviously, Christensen looks like the next one out the door behind Rudiger. And, we've got a lot of issues at defence. I've said this on the last couple of videos. We have to get this defence sorted correctly. We have to get it spot on. And like I said, losing out on Perisic, we can't afford to lose out on Jules Koundé. He's a player that comes with a lot of experience, but there's also another defender that I want to talk about, because Koulibaly is another player that we have been linked with over many years now. I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago we were heavily linked with him. If we can get those two in, which I think is very ambitious, but I think if we can get Koundé in, which I spoke about in the last video, but Koulibaly is another player that we've definitely been linked with. I think he would fit the system, the way that we play. I think he's a really good defender. He can play out from the back, which is good. He's good with his feet. Technically he's brilliant. Everything about him is brilliant. So I think if we can get him alongside Jules Koundé, we're still having Trevor Chalobah there and Thiago Silva. I think I'd be happy with the defence, and obviously keeping Emerson and Ben Chilwell, Reece James, Azpilicueta, who can also shift into that right centre back role as well. So there's a lot of qualities. If we can get those two, I think we'll be set up really well for the season ahead. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's quickly talk about the elephant in the room, because I think we need to talk about Romelu Lukaku, who is always the talking topic of every video that we do on here, and many Chelsea channels as well. The latest news with Romelu Lukaku is that he is dying to get back to Inter Milan. And I can probably speak for every Chelsea fan. We would all love to drive you to the airport, Lukaku, so you can get your move back to Inter Milan. And I think if he does move, I think that is it. I think there'll be no sort of love lost at all. I think it obviously didn't work for him at Chelsea the first time round. He wanted to go, he wanted to move on, he wanted to get more game time, which is understandable. He's come back, performed well against Arsenal, then done an interview that just didn't make any sense, which I still struggle to understand why and how, and even how it got out and why it got out, but timing was all off. He came back and looked like he put on 20 stone. with like weights in his football boots. Like, it just didn't make any sense. So I don't get this whole idea of Inter Milan, who can't afford Lukaku, and the reason they sold him is because they needed the money who they would want back. When, you know, Dzeko's been doing really well there. Obviously, Martinez is a player that's also been linked with us, who could be part of that move away from Inter Milan to Chelsea to allow Romelu Lukaku to go back to Inter Milan, which, I mean, again, you know, I just don't understand the whole deal. I think we need to cut our losses with Lukaku. I think, you know, what I've been hearing, 20 million loan fee with the option of 70 million obligation to purchase at the end of that loan. So, I mean, we'd recruit the money that we got for him, but at the same time as well, you know, there will be a sour smell in terms of that whole transfer. It'll probably go down as one of the worst transfers, you know, that I can remember at Chelsea, in terms of the amount of money that's been spent on a player. Not to say that we haven't, you know, we still got Bakayoko, those kind of players on drink waters, but in terms of the money that we've paid for Lukaku and what we've got in return for that, in terms of goals, brilliant performances, standout moments, they're very few and far between. And I think, you know, again, no one's bigger than the club, and I've said this on many occasions about many different players, but, you know, if he does not want to be at Chelsea and he wants to move back to Italy, he wants to play for Inter Milan, then who are we to stop him? I think, you know, we'd be stupid to try and keep a player that doesn't want to play for the club, you know, for another season. So I think we cut our losses with Lukaku. We move him on. We could bring in Martinez, but I mean, I'm looking now at some of these other strikers. You know, you've still got Lewandowski out there, who looks like he's going to Barcelona, but can Todd and the team above, can they pull off a master stroke and bring in Lewandowski for a season or two? You know, I'd love to see that. I think, you know, if he can't go to Barca, which I've heard that the president's asking players to take a 50% wage cut. You know, you remember what happened to Sergio Aguero when he went there as well. They weren't able to register him straight away. There's a lot of politics and mess going on in La Liga at the moment. So for me, if we can get Lewandowski over the line and take out Lukaku, and obviously we've got Ousmane Dembele hopefully coming in as well, you know, the likes of Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher. But yeah, I think, you know, if we can get those players in, the key players that I've just mentioned, Koulibaly, Koundé, keep Emerson, Aspilicueta, Dembele. We obviously need a number 9, because we haven't really had a decent number 9, you know, for a long time now. We need to get one in. So it's obviously not Lukaku. That's fine. But I think we need to definitely look at bringing in someone that can do that, who's capable of doing that. But another player I want to quickly touch on as well is Christian Pulisic, who seems to always be moaning. I don't know whether it's just me, but he seems to be one of these players that, you know, I think he's played 30 plus games this season, 2 cup finals he started. He played in the Real Madrid game, in the Champions League this season as well, and he's still screaming about getting game time. And, you know, I feel like he's had enough moments and opportunities to prove what he can do in a Chelsea shirt. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Now, I will back that up with this. I think if we do sell him to Liverpool, which is the team that has currently been linked with him, to replace Sadio Mane, we've been here before. We've been here before with clubs and players, and why would we sell to a direct rival who we're trying to, you know, catch up to? That would be really bad business. If we sell to anyone, it needs to be a club that's not in the Premier League and away from English football, in my opinion. But if we do sell him, then I wouldn't be cut up about it, because he hasn't shown me enough. You know, he hasn't shown me that he's got the qualities to perform week in, week out in the Premier League, and you need to have that. You need to be able to do that. And, you know, his injuries as well is another massive factor. I just don't think he's comfortable or capable to play in the Premier League consistently, stay fit as well, and add to the assists, add to chip in with the number of goals we expect from the position that he plays in as well. So that's where I think if we can bring in Usman Dembele, I think that's where we're stepping up. We've got to have that step up in quality of football, consistency as well. And I think hopefully Dembele can do that. But to sell to Liverpool would be suicide, in my opinion, because, you know, they've already got enough quality in front. You know, you look at, if they keep Salah, which I think they will now that Mane looks like he's going, they've obviously got Thiago Jota and Luis Diaz, Firmino as well. So they've got a good front. You know, their attacking is the Ferrari. You know, it's the Rolls Royce of attackers. So I think if they add that, and I think Pulisic would thrive in that team under Klopp as well. So I think if we sell Pulisic to Liverpool, Massive mistake. But I think he does need to go, just not to Liverpool, because I think, you know, that will just enhance them. It will make them even better than they have been over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to seeing Pulisic in a Liverpool shirt if he does go there. But yeah, I think he's got to go. I think his time's done. I don't understand the moaning. You know, he keeps coming out and saying he wants to play more minutes and more game time. And Tuchel's been generous with that. I think he's given enough game time this season to prove what he can do. And we've only seen flash in the pans of it. We've only seen little moments of quality from him. And if we're going to push up and try and compete with Liverpool and Man City, you need to be doing that every weekend. You can't do it on, you know, one game against, I don't know, Aston Villa, and then when it comes to Man City or the big teams, you're not really there, or you get to the final, you're not really taking your chances. So, you know, I'm not sure where the frustration comes from Christian Pulisic. I think he's had enough opportunities, and you know, we just have to see how that pans out. But let's talk about some of the loan players, because I wanted to talk about some of the loan players that I think still have an opportunity to play in the senior team, in the you know, have a role to play next season. And I don't really want to focus on the goalkeepers, because I think for us, you know, we've got enough goalkeeper backup, and we're obviously being linked with a couple of goalkeepers already as well. But I want to focus on the likes of Ethan Ampadu, who for me, very, very good player, had a very good opportunity to go abroad, playing in Italy. It just hasn't really held down any sort of, you know, solid form, as opposed to be able to say that he's going to be a regular starter in the Chelsea squad. But I watched a couple of his games last season in Italy, and I thought he played really well. You know, he's one of those players for me that I think has an opportunity now, is the perfect opportunity to try and break into that squad, especially in a role that we're crying out for new players as well, with the likes of Rudiger and others potentially leaving as well. So for me, I would keep Ampadu. I'd keep him as an option, especially during pre-season, which I think happened last season. I think he played maybe 1 or 2 games in the pre-season games last season. But I'd keep him at the club. I'd give him an opportunity and see what he can do. You know, maybe then we can then move on to Malang Sarr. Maybe send him on loan next season as well. But let's just talk about my guy here, Jake Clark-Salter, who, again, I mean, I look at him now and I think he's almost in that bracket of Lewis Baker, or, you know, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, that kind of bracket, maybe a bit younger. But, you know, I look at him, had a very sort of up and down season at Coventry, and he just doesn't seem to be a fit for us. I don't think he's got the quality, especially doesn't have the quality to play at the level that we need him to play at. You know, we're talking about Champions League, you know, defenders, or, you know, world-class defenders, or that level. I don't see that for him. And I think, you know, again, this is a moment now in his career, I suppose. You know, does he stay and go on loan, or does he try and force a move and get more regular football and sustain himself at another club, and, you know, try and branch out from the Chelsea youth umbrella, which, you know, he's capable of doing that. He's played really well for Coventry, but I just think, is that his level now, the Championship? I think it is, but, you know, I don't think he's got the qualities to be at the club, in terms of, I couldn't see him playing against, you know, Barcelona or Bayern Munich or Man City. I just don't see that. I don't think that quality is not in him. So for me, he's got to go. We've already spoken about Emerson, obviously Levi Colwill, another one that is, for me, being tipped to be one of the best in the best. You know, I think he can go on to go all the way for me, and I think he's someone that has a lot of qualities. Same with Henry Lawrence as well, who joined Wimbledon last season. Very, very brilliant. The good thing about Henry Lawrence is that he can play across the whole back line. He can play left, right, central. You know, he's one of those that is just very technically gifted as a player. Still relatively young as well, but I think we're going to see a lot of this kid. I think he's got a lot about him. Personally, I think he's got the qualities to break into that first team. I think he's one of those players that, given the right opportunities, not in the Champions League, that level. I'm talking, you know, the odd Premier League game, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, I can see him breaking in and making a name for himself. You know, he's a very good player. Like I said, I watched him quite often for Wimbledon, and he's someone that I think can go all the way. So I personally, I would keep him at the club next season, keep him at the development squad, but obviously utilise him in the senior squad when it needs to be done. But for me, he's got to stay, because he's one of those, again, we're talking about defenders, he's one of those that, for me, can give the likes of, you know, an Azpilicueta or Reece James a rest, or one of the centre-backs, or, you know, Ben Chilwell, give them a rest, or Emerson a rest. He can play the whole back line. It's very unheard of as a defender. Ian Matson's another one that I just think, yeah, I don't know. He played well for Coventry. He played really well. Had a really good season for Coventry. I just worry about, in terms of now, obviously it looks like Emerson might be staying. Obviously Ben Chilwell's back as well. It looks like he might be third down that pecking order. And does he want to play second fiddle to those two players, or does he want to try and cement himself again in another squad, you know, like Clark Salter? Does he want to go out and actually try and make a name for himself at a club, you know, a championship club, a Premier League club? There'll be clubs, I think, sniffing around for him, because he, like I said, he had a really good season for Coventry, and he's got the qualities as well. You know, he's a really good left back player. It's just a shame that he's obviously got, again, the likes of Emerson and Chilwell ahead of him, because I think he's earned his right to be breaking into that senior squad. But I just think maybe with the two players ahead of him, he's going to be starved of first team football if he stays at Chelsea. Now, two players that I need to pick up on, who I didn't even know he was still at the club, but Matt Miazga has to go. I don't even need to explain why. If you follow Chelsea, you will know that this guy has been at the club for some time now, and he hasn't really made any impact. I think we signed him and loaned him out straight away, if I remember correctly, but he's got to go, and he can take Baba Rahman with him as well, the fraudster that is Baba Rahman. Yeah, he's just, I don't know what he's still doing at the club. I don't even know where he was on loan at Reading. Yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go. He's been at the club since 2015. It's just, I don't know what to say about him, but he's got to go. Let's get rid of Baba Rahman. Let's get rid of him. Couple of players here that I want to focus on. The ones that I would love to see flourish in this squad. I don't know about Angerin. I think maybe, again, might be a bit too early for a step up for him in the senior squad, but definitely got loads of quality about him. I'll probably loan him out for another season, because I think he definitely needs a bit more time, you know, again, alongside Cowell. Had a really good season at Huddersfield, but I just think, yeah, he's someone that maybe needs just one more loan in him to, you know, just to give himself the opportunity to try and break into that squad maybe at the end of next season. But two players as well that need to join the Matt Miazga and Baba Rahman aeroplane out of Stamford Bridge. Bakayoko, and I think Danny Drinkwater's already gone, actually, so I won't jump on him too much, but yeah, they've got to go. There's no explanation needed. Bakayoko is just hemorrhaging money out of the club. We're spending God knows how much on his wages. He is not even doing anything. He's just here for vibes. So we need to get rid of him. Danny Drinkwater, I think, is already gone anyway, so fair play to him. But yeah, he needs to hopefully get back onto his career now. Hopefully he can find a club elsewhere and do what he can do. But there's going to be a massive talking point here. And guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, this is a stumbling block for me, because I want to keep Billy Gilmour next season. I really do. But I just don't know how and where he's going to fit into that squad. And I could probably say the same about Conor Gallagher. But I think personally for me, it's tough, because I want to keep Billy Gilmour. I think he's too good to be loaned out to like a Norwich or somewhere. I think he's got to have a better, if he's going to go out on loan, he's got to go to somewhere who's got a bit more quality about them, more players around him that can actually develop with him. And I think, you know, Norwich was obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing, but Norwich was probably the worst signing, the worst club we could have sent him to, because he didn't get on with the gaffer at first with Daniel Farke, and you know, he just went all pear-shaped for him. So I think if we can get him a decent loan. Now the question is, does he want to go on loan, or does he want to try and break into a senior squad and make a name for himself, and, you know, move clubs and sort of just flourish somewhere else? It's a difficult one, because I really want to keep him. I want to keep him at the club. Same with Conor Gallagher. Really like him. I think he's earned his right. Played really well for Palace last season. I'm surprised that they haven't tried to come in and sign him. They still might try and do that, but for me, Conor Gallagher has to stay at the club next season. Goes without saying, if you watched Crystal Palace last season, you would have seen a lot of Conor Gallagher and what he's capable of doing. One of those things that we missed heavily last season was someone who can attack, run with the ball, take players on. There's your man, Conor Gallagher. He can do that. So for me, it's a shame because I really want to... I mean, they don't play in the same role, so we could keep Billy Gilmour, but I just think... I think we need to understand out of the two, meaning Kante or Jorginho, which one's going to go. Because I think one will leave this summer. It then brings in a bit more room for Billy Gilmour, for me, to play in that role in midfield as well. But yeah, Conor Gallagher, Billy Gilmour, if we can keep both of them, great. But I do feel if we loan out Billy Gilmour, let's please send him to someone that's got a bit of quality about them. Maybe an Everton. Oh, they haven't got quality. That was the worst club I could have thought of. But just someone with quality, someone with a bit of quality that's going somewhere. Maybe a Villa. I wouldn't mind Aston Villa. I think they've got a good squad. But let's move to the strikers really quickly. The two that I want to focus on are Mando Broja. Has to stay at our club next season. There's been talk, I think, about West Ham. I think even Everton have been involved in trying to sign him on loan. We've got to keep him. Doesn't even matter about what any other club wants to do. We need someone that can come on and do a job, and he's proven that he can do that. He can hold at the ball really well. Again, the strength in him is really good. He knows where the back of the net is. That's all I need from my striker, and that's all he needs to do. And I do think he can do that consistently at Chelsea if we give him the right amount of game time as well. I'll be surprised if we loan him out. I think we've got to keep him, and we've got to have options going forward now. Even going back a couple of seasons when we had Tammy Abraham, we had Olivier Giroud. We had a couple of options to bring off the bench, and last season that's one of the things we didn't have. We didn't have anyone apart from Lukaku when he was fit to play in that role as a number 9. Broja's our guy. He can do that. For me, Michy Batshuayi, your time is finished at Chelsea. Besiktas, I don't think even want to keep you on, but he's got to go. I think he's someone that he's got to go because he's just again just hemorrhaging money at the club. I don't even know why he's here. I don't know what his idea is, why he's here, what his plans are, but he's got to go. I've had enough of him. But guys, let me know your thoughts. I've been rambling on for nearly 30 minutes. As I said at the start of this, please subscribe to the channel. I think we're nearly close to 100 subscribers. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it means a lot to me. It means a lot to Theo as well, of course. And we've got all our socials up there as well, so make sure you click on those social accounts and you give us a follow on there. And make sure you give me your thoughts in the comments as well. That's another thing that I've noticed. There's not many people commenting, so comment in the comments about what you think. Who should we keep from our loanees that have been out at other clubs last season? Who should we keep in the squad for this season coming? And who should we bring in as transfers as well? Would you be happy to see Ousmane Dembele? Would you be happy to see Koulibaly come in, or Koundé as well? These are the players that we're currently being linked with as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. This has been T.Dot from the Shed End. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with another video very soon.